we're okay. We'll go to the title is It Can Bury Itself. And we're going to Matthew, Ephesians, 1 Thessalonians, and Luke. So let's go to Matthew first. I'm going to read this, but I'm not going to comment on Matthew yet. I'll do that later. So Matthew chapter 8, verse 21 and 22. Another of the Talmudim said to him, Sir, first let me go and bury my father. But Yeshua replied, Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. Now, I am actually going to mention one thing, then I'll come back. This is, I know, is literal, but I'm going to use it today in a spiritual sense. So now let's go to Ephesians chapter 2, verses 1 through 7. You used to be dead because of your sins and acts of disobedience. You walked in the ways of the Olam Hazah and obeyed the ruler of the powers of the air, who is still at work among the disobedient. Indeed, we are once led that way. We followed the passions of our old nature and obeyed the wishes of our old nature. In our own thought, in our natural condition, we were healed for God's wrath, just like everyone else. But God is so rich in mercy and loves us with such intense love that even when we were dead because of our acts of disobedience, He brought us to life along with the Messiah. It is by grace that you have been delivered. That is, God raised us up with the Messiah, Yeshua, and seated us with Him in heaven, in order to exhibit in the ages to come how infinitely rich is His grace, how great is His kindness toward us who are united with the Messiah. I think I went a bit too far. Okay. The Messiah, Yeshua. Here's the thing. We were once dead. We got saved and we was given back life. Our spirit was given back life. We were spiritually dead. That being said, to go back to where we were dead back to our graveyard, whatever that may be, whether it was unbelief, whether it was disobedience, whether it was addiction, whether it was fornication, whether it was idolatry. That was our graveyard. That's where we was dead at. That's what we need to stay away from. We don't need to go back. And yes, we may have friends that are still in that graveyard. We may still have friends that are still dead. And we can meet them on neutral grounds. We can meet them on neutral grounds if we want to talk to them and try to talk them into coming to the only one who can give them spiritual life, which is Yeshua. But we cannot go back to that graveyard that we were in. Because that graveyard, unless God has called you to a specific calling, and not everybody is called to go back. Not everybody is called to that type of calling. And if you're not, and you go back there, that graveyard can pull you back into the dead that you were before you left, before you were delivered. So, and make sure that if you believe you are called, make sure it is God that is calling you. Because then He will equip you to be able to go there and fight against the graveyard, pulling you in. Yes, I'm talking about the enemy, pulling you in back into death. But if you're not called, stay out of that graveyard. Now let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 22. But keep away from every form of evil. Now in the King James, it says, avoid the appearance of evil. So even if even if you are going and you have no intentions of partaking in whatever sin that was there in that graveyard, whatever sin that caused you to become spiritually dead, you're still supposed to avoid it. If it looks evil, if it seems evil, stay away from it. That's simple. And if you have anything that where you had to, if you had to be delivered, you weren't strong enough to pull yourself out. Don't think that you're strong enough to keep yourself from being pulled back in. That, like I said, if you have a calling, God will equip you and make you strong enough. But if you don't have that calling, avoid that evil. Now let's go to Luke chapter 4, verse 12. Yeshua answered him, it also says, do not put Adonai your God to the test. Here's the thing. If you know that place caused you to be spiritually dead, if you knew that it had such a hold on you that you on your own could not get away from it, if you know that it pulls you, and every time you get around it, it pulls you, then why would you be going back to it? You're sitting there saying, I can do that, but you're being told in the Bible to stay away from it. You're being told in the Bible not to go around it. So when you go do something that you clearly know would be unwise, because the Bible is warning you against it. I know the Ruach HaKodesh would be warning you against it. And those like me are going to warn you against it. You're tempting God. You're daring God to do something. So here's the thing. Stay away from that. Stay away from that place. You can't go back in those crack houses. You're not that strong. You can't go back into those bars or anything like that. You can't go back around the people who drink. You're not strong enough. You can't go around. You can't go around to those things that you worship before, that you put before everything else. You can't do it. You're not strong enough. You can't go to those gambling places. You're not strong enough. You don't have the strength to do it. So you need to stay away from them for your soul's sake. If you want to stay spiritually alive, you need to stay away from them. You can't go into them. You can't think that you're stronger now than you were then. And it will pull you back in. You don't go back to a graveyard. Why would you? You're among the living. Why would you go back to the dead? Why would you associate with the dead? Pray for them that they can come out of that graveyard. Talk to them on neutral grounds if you need to. But don't go to that graveyard. Don't go back to that place where you were dead. Now let's go to, let's see. Okay, now we're going to go back to Matthew chapter 8, verse 21 and 22, and we'll read it again. Another of the Talmudim said to him, Sir, let me go and bury my father. But Yeshua replied, Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. Okay, this is, like I said, this is literal, but I'm going to put it in spiritual sense. When we want to go back, after we're saved, we want to go back. We want to witness. We want to witness to people about God, about Yeshua. We want to tell them how great He is, and that's good. We should do that. But if we're going back where we were under bondage, and we haven't become strong enough to stand firm against what had us under bondage, we're not going to be able to stand. First off, we use wisdom in all things. And wisdom says that when we're delivered, we have to grow in Yeshua. We have to grow in the Messiah. We have to grow in our calling, if you are called to it. If you're not, you're taking a chance. You're risking being pulled back in. When there's places you can go and witness to them that is actually a neutral place where you're not going back to that graveyard, because you're not doing them any good at all if you are taking a chance of you having yourself pulled back in there. And like I keep saying, do I believe there's people that are called to actually go back to that graveyard to help pull other people out? Yes, I do. But I also believe that if you are not called, do not assume that you can do it. Make sure God has called you there, because like I said, He will equip you. He will give you the strength. He will give you the ability to stand firm against that graveyard, against that death. But unless He is, avoid that. Because if they're dead, and if they choose to remain dead, you don't want to be pulled back into it. But if you are meant to witness to them, do it on neutral grounds, so they can't pull you back, so the graveyard can't pull you back in. And then you may have a better chance of pulling them out of it.